welcome back to my channel. So this video I'm basically going to show you how I decorated this number cake with a sponge cake. I've made a video before of a number cake, but it was a biscuit number cake, so I'm just going to show you in this video how I decorated this number cake. I will link the recipe for the sponge cake in the description box. And yeah, okay, let's get right into it. So this is basically the size of the tray that I used, and so this is how it came out in the end. I let it cool completely before I started working on it. So then I transferred the cake onto a square. It's actually a rectangle. Was it a square or rectangle? Doesn't matter. A square cake board, and then I drew the number 30 on just a normal piece of paper, but it helps if it's like a bit more sturdy, so like a cardboard kind of texture. So here I started cutting the pieces off that I didn't need. A mistake I made was not keeping the knife straight while I was doing this, so you'll notice that a bit of the side of the zero was a bit angled and I cut off more than I intended to. So just keep your knife at completely a 90-degree angle while doing this. I know it's quite difficult, but it's actually worth it just to keep the knife completely straight so that you don't cut off more than you want to. So another thing that I did was to kind of halve the cake before I separated it. So I put it on a separate cake board, and then what I did was to slice the cake in half before I started using it. So I sliced the cake in half and then put it in Glad wrap and put it in the fridge overnight, and then only did I separate the cake layers in the morning. So don't separate the layers on the same day or at the same time, because the cake is quite fragile and it will probably break when you do that. So just slice and halve the cake and then leave it as it is, and then only separate the cake layers once you've given it time to cool. So this will make it easier when you want to lift the cake layers and separate them, because they'll be much firmer. See how easily I moved that one. So I'm using an American buttercream. I find that this is the firmest option that you can use because it doesn't have too much cream and it won't be too fragile and succumb to the pressure of the cakes on top and then squeeze the buttercream out when you put the cake layers on top. So it's better to use a firmer kind of buttercream. So I think this one works better. So this is how the first layer came out. I didn't think it was important to make it neat or perfect here because you're going to cover it anyway, but the top layer is definitely much more important, and I would say the edges as well. So I didn't use any piping tip. I just cut the piping bag a little bit at the bottom just to give it enough space, or as big as I wanted it to. So that's what's nice about this as well, that you don't need a piping tip to do this. I think this is a great option also for someone who's starting to learn how to decorate cakes and wants to try something different and doesn't have all of the equipment. So I think this is a great place to start actually. So I'm using these peach roses to decorate. I think it's great if you can get roses that aren't kind of open yet, so that, yeah, they just maintain that look, and still look quite fresh on the cake. But it's also fine if your roses are quite open. So I just cut off the stems and used really just the top piece of the cake. So I put it on the cake. I didn't really kind of insert it into the cake, which is why I feel okay about it, and not kind of, I don't know, being bad for the cake or anything like that. So it's just placed on the cake. It's not like inserted as you would in a normal kind of big cake with the stems. So I try to put kind of, this is really up to you how you decorate it at this point, but I try to use the rule of three, which is putting three of everything, or in three corners or three areas of each of the items that I was using. So I used roses, I used some milk bar, I think it's that white chocolate, some raspberries, and then at the end I actually decided to make some meringue kisses as well. So you can basically use anything here, but just flowers, fruit, and chocolates always works best and looks really good on the cake as well. I think meringue kisses also add a nice texture to the cake. So these are the meringue kisses that I made, that I added onto the cake at